Welcome to another crochet tutorial with Cozy Rosie UK. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make the granny ripple. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to go on to complete lots of different projects featuring this wonderful stitch and this technique, including scarves, blankets, even my own pattern for the really wanna wrap. So it's a zigzag wrap that features lots of colour changing yarn, so it's really beautiful. Before we do get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any other of my tutorials or my free crochet patterns either. So the materials that we're going to be needing to complete this granny ripple tutorial is going to be a crochet hook and the corresponding yarn, or the yarn with a corresponding crochet hook. So I'm going to be using my favourite yarn, which is the Paintbox Yarns Simply Chunky, and this calls for a 6mm crochet hook. So I've got a very lovely new crochet hook that was given to me by CC by Fran. She does some wonderful ombre glittery holographic hooks, which are really nice. I'll see if I can link it in the description box below for you to go and have a look at those. So once you've got your yarn and your crochet hook, what we're going to first do, it says grabbing on my yarn, what we're going to first start by doing is making our starting chain. So we're going to chain for this tutorial 47 onto this hook. So pop your slip knot on and then chain 47. "45, 46 and 47. So it seems like quite a long chain to work on for a tutorial, but we're actually only going to be doing one zig, one zag, a zig and a zag. So once we've done our chain of 47, we're going to work into the 5th chain from the hook first of all. So we need to count back 5 chains. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So if you're looking at your chain, you can see you've got an edge like a little plait. You can count the back if you want to, if you find it easier to see these back loops, but I just count across the top. So this one on our hook doesn't count, so that's the first chain is there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we're going to work into that chain. So I'm just going to place my thumb there so I know how to work, where I'm going to work into, and I'm yarning over the hook because we're going to place 3 treble crochets into this same chain. So we just yarn over, pull through the 3 loops on the hook, pull through 2, pull through 2. So I am using UK terms here. So the treble crochet is the same as the American double crochet. So far we've got our chain 4 because we worked into that 5th chain. So that chain 4 actually counts as a treble crochet and a chain 1, which gives us a little chain space at the back there. And then we've got 3 treble crochets all into the same chain space, not chain space, chain there. We're then going to miss or skip the next 2 chains. So not going to work into that one, not going to work into that one. We're working into this one here. So again, I'm just going to place my thumb there so I know where I'm working, yarn over, and again, we're just going to place a further 3 treble crochets into that same chain. Yarn's getting tangled. So now we've got 2 of the granny clusters effectively. So the granny cluster is made up by those 3 treble crochets. So we've skipped 2 chains and worked into the next one. And then once again, we're going to do that again. So we're going to skip that one, skip the next one and work into this one. So 1, 2 and into the 3rd. Okay. Again, we just place a further 3 treble crochets. So now we have 3 blocks of treble crochet, and again we're going to skip the next 2 chains and work into that 3rd chain. So 1, 2, 3, and we're going to place a further 3 treble crochets. Now you might think we're going to skip 2 and place again, but actually we're going to create the first zig. of our zigzag, okay? So to do that, we're going to continue working in here. So we've got our 3 trebles. We're then going to do the equivalent of a corner. So we're going to add 3 chains, all the 3s, I'm afraid, and we're working straight back into that same chain. So we're not going to skip anything, we're just working straight back into there, placing a further 3 treble crochets. So now you can see that we have a corner effectively and 3 clusters and then 2 clusters for our corner. We're going to carry on doing the same treble clusters. So we're going to skip 2 chains and work into that 3rd one. So yarn over the hook, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to place 3 treble crochets into this space or this chain. You can start to see that it's got that shape there. And again, we're going to skip work. Just placing a further 3 treble crochets into the next chain. So I do count these very easily myself. So I want 1, 2, 3, corner, 1, 2. So I need to place a 3rd one. So I'm going to skip 1, skip 2, and work into that 3rd chain along. And once again, just placing 3 treble crochets. So this is the only time we don't use the 3 after this. Because what we need to create is the bit that's going to go down effectively so we can come back up again. So to do that, what we're actually going to do is to not work in the next 5 treble crochets. Now you've seen I've already yarned over because I want to count and then shove my hook in. So we're going to skip 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm working into this one here. I don't know how I managed to do that so perfectly. So I yarn over, count my 5 and shove my hook in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm placing my hook into that 6th chain along. And once again, all I'm going to do is just place 3 treble crochets. So if we have a little look at that now, I mean, it's not flat. Please don't worry about that right now. Yours may not be as well. Because what's going to happen is, I'll put the hook under, we're going to start working this bit again now, up here. So we've got number 1. We're going to skip 2 and working into the 3rd. Once again, just placing 3 treble crochets. One, 2, so we're looking for the 3rd one. So skip. So skip those 2 chains, working into that 3rd one, placing another 3 treble crochets. Let's get some more yarn. So now we have the big space there, the chain 5 space there, 1, 2, 3. So now I'm going to place another corner space. So all I do is I skip those 2 chains, working into that 3rd chain there. And in this space, or this chain, sorry, I'm going to place those 3 treble crochets. I'm also going to place the chain 3 to give me the corner look. 2 and 3. And then I'm going to work straight, I don't know if you just heard my dog snore, sorry about that. And then I'm going to work straight back into that space there, placing a further 3 treble crochets. There we go. So once again, we've got another point. She says, let me pop this down. Oh, goodness, it's very crinkly. Once you do the second row, it looks lovely. So far we've got 1, 2, 3, peak, 1, 2, 3, chain 5 space, 1, 2, 3, and another peak. So now we just need to work down again to even up the sides. And to simply do that, we're going to skip the next 2 chains And yes, we're going to place a further 3 treble crochets into this next chain. One, yeah, sorry, 2 and 3. Don't worry about these holes, it will even out, I promise. Skip 2. I'm sorry, my yarn is trapped around. How on earth did I manage to do that? Oh, there we go. Sorry, I'm all tangled up. So we've got 1, 2, and perfectly, as always, we've worked out we've got 1. We're going to skip these 2, and we've got this last space here. So we're going to match it up to what we did over here. So we had those 3 trebles and that chain 4. So we're going to place, it's going to skip, and work into that 3rd and final chain. We're going to place those 3 treble crochets. And there's the 3rd one. And then to match the other side, we're going to chain 1 and place a final or 4th treble crochet into that last space. Now, please don't worry about what this looks like, because even though it annoys me, it does look a lot better by the time we've done the next row. So you can already see that it's kind of zigging and zagging about there. But we're going to turn and do our 2nd row, okay? Just get some more yarn, because this is, the wrong end has come out of the board. Let me pop that over there. There we go. So to turn, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 4, okay? 1, 2, 3, and 4, and turn our work, or flop our work about, because we're not going to work into this space here. So we've done a chain 4, which counts as our treble crochet and that other chain space there. And what we're going to do is actually work into that first chain space that we created just by placing 3 treble crochets into the chain space. Well, it's a cluster space because there's no chains, is there? So 1, 2, and 3. So that gives us like a little space there, which we'll work into when we come back. And then we've placed a cluster into that cluster space. So we're going to work into the next cluster space. Again, just placing 3 treble crochets each time. So we've got another cluster there, and then into the next one. And then we've reached our first peak. So you can see the peak because it's got that chain 3 space. And we're literally going to repeat what's underneath this. So we're going to do 3 trebles, chain 3, and 3 trebles into the same chain 3 space. That's 1, 2, and 3. We're going to chain 3 and work back into that exact same space. 1, 2, oh no, it's not, that's 1, 2, and 3. So we have, a peak on top of the peak. So it keeps the same number of, so we've got 3 clusters, and then we've got our peak. And on the first row we had 3 clusters and the peak. So we are literally copying what we've done on the row before, which makes it easier to follow. So then we're going to work back down this way, working into those cluster spaces and just placing 3 treble crochets into each of those, making sure we're working into the cluster space. There we are. So that's another 3 treble crochets, and then the same again into that next cluster space. Oh, I keep running out of wool, sorry about that. That's 3, and again we're going to place another 3 into the next one. So if we look at where we are, so we've done the peak 1, 2, and this will be number 3. There are so many different ways you can count this, and I think we all count differently. When I'm doing a pattern repeat, I try and find the way, that didn't work, sorry, that was a half treble. Try and find a way that works in my brain that makes it easy for me to do a pattern repeat. You may find something different works for you, but I find just by counting the blocks, that's the easier way. So once we've reached this space, we've got this chain 5 space here, and we're not going to work into there at all in this pattern. We're going to skip that completely. So yarn over your hook, and you'll see that your next cluster space is all the way over there. So kind of pop your hook through there and then yarn over to, and then readjust it a bit so you haven't got too much of a space. And do your first treble, and you're going to place another 2 trebles into that space, and then we'll have a look to see what that looks like. There we go. So you can see it kind of helps bring that peak or the non-peak together by kind of shortening that space there. And that's exactly what we want to happen. So that counts as number 1, number 2, number 3. So we've got 2 more to do to go back up the zig or the zag. I don't know which one's which, to be honest. So again, just placing 3 trebles into each of these cluster spaces between the peaks and the troughs, or the chain 5 space. I like to give things funny names. Sorry about that. Oh, there we go, number 2 and then number 3 into this one. It is all a bit floppy at the moment, but it will firm up. Okay, so we've reached another big space. So that's our chain 3 space in the peak. So we're going to repeat exactly what we see here. So 3 trebles, chain 3 and 3 trebles. So just all in that same cluster space, the chain 3 space, we're simply going to place those 3 treble crochets and a chain 3, and then straight into the same space again, we're going to place a further 3 treble crochets. And then we're going to work our way back down again. So we'll do 1, 3 treble crochets, 3. I do love it when a wool doesn't come out of the ball very easily. Oops, sorry, fiddly fiddly. That's 3, yeah. And again into this one, 3 treble crochets. And again, into the next one, 3 treble crochets. Now, because we're reaching the end of this, we need to make sure that we finish this row properly. So let's have a look to see where we are, because we know we want 3, don't we? So there's our peak, 1, 2, and 3. So right at the very beginning, we had a little chain space in there. And all we're going to do is we're simply going to place 1 treble crochet. So you've got the 1, 2, 3 of the trebles in that last cluster, had a little chain 1, and then you've got your treble there. Well, it was originally our chain 4. So all we're going to do is work in between the treble cluster and that chain there. So pop your hook through and place a treble crochet on there. And then you can see, when you try and uncurl this a little bit, at the end of row 2, we have the start of our zigzag. It looks more like a M, but you know, you'd probably do more than that. So going into row 3, we simply do the same thing. We chain 4, turn our work, and again we're going to skip that chain space there, and we're going to place 3 treble crochets into the next 3 cluster spaces. So the row is exactly the same, there's no difference. You do the same on each row. It's a single row repeat. And now you've got those 2 rows on, I think it becomes a lot easier to kind of follow what you've done before by simply just placing those 3 treble clusters. If you're unsure where you are in your row, kind of have a count. That's why I was trying to make you aware of those of how many clusters we want. So we want 1, 2, 3 clusters, and then we're going to place that peak there. I'm going to follow it down. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to skip this chain 5 space. So let's place this peak together. So we're going to place 3 treble crochets into the peak, and then we're going to do a chain 3, and then right back into the same space we're going to place a further 3 treble crochets. So we've repeated that peak again. So we've got that chain 3 space to work into the next space. Working back down, we're going to place a further 3 treble 3 clusters. Oh goodness, that's quite hard to say. So we just do 3 trebles into each cluster space. I just want to show you the trough once again. I'll let you go on your merry way to crack on with your next project. So this is the 3rd cluster space that we're working into back down from the peak. And that brings us back down to that chain 5 space where we started. So you've got your peak here, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to skip this one, remember. We're not going to work into there. We are going to jump all the way over to this one over here. So pop your hook through into that chain space and do your first treble. I always take my time on this first one to make sure it's not too spacious. There we are. And then you can just place the other 2 into that same space. And then we just carry on placing a further 2 up to the next peak. I can feel a knot. I don't like knots in wool, but as long as it kind of sits on the right side of my wool and it feels pretty secure, I will leave it in there and work it in. It's quicker than me sewing in 2 ends and cutting it out. It's your choice. If you want to cut it out and reattach, then you can do. Back to the peak again. So we've got 3 treble crochets, chain 3 and 3 treble crochets, all into the same chain 3 space. So chain 3, and then once again we're going to go back down towards the end of this row. So we just do the treble 3 cluster into the next 3 cluster spaces. This is number 3. Because I need to show you where, because now this time we don't have a cluster space and a treble to work into. We have to work into that turning chain that we did on the previous row. So ideally we want to place our final treble into the 3rd chain that we made when we did our turning chain, not into the chain space, but into the 3rd chain. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4's got tiny, of course, and we're just going to place our chain. And ideally you want to grab 2 loops from that chain because you don't want it to look wholly. And I've got 1, so that always helps. Oh, there we go. So just pop that onto your hook. You don't have to be too sentimental about it. Just grab a couple of loops and ideally aim for the 3rd one. And we are going to place a treble crochet in there because then so you've got 1, 2, and that's me working to the 3rd chain. And that's how you finish that each and every row going forward. So that is, you can carry on. You can make just a lovely little mini blanket, or you could double up and make it double the width. You could just double the starting chain and you'd be able to do that. So you'd be doing B24. So you need to do, I'll pop it in the description. It'll be easier to do that, or on the blog post as well. So I hope you've really enjoyed this tutorial today. And I hope that you do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that I can make sure that you see all the latest pattern releases and free tutorials that I launch on my YouTube channel as well. And I hope to see you again very, very soon. please don't forget to go and have a look at my latest pattern, which features the granny ripple tutorial, but in a slightly different format. If you're looking for a little bit more of a challenge and you found this nice and easy, it'll be the perfect pattern for you to make a very sophisticated wrap. So I'm looking forward to seeing you again all soon. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Bye.